Welcome to the 11 Warriors show this wonderful Wednesday, December 13th. Jason Priestess, he's Chris Lauterbach. Chris, how's it going, man?
Doing well, man. How about you?
Same. Pretty crazy day yesterday in the Ohio State world. Media got to meet with players. We'll have a lot of that coming up later and what they had to say about the Cotton Bowl and whatever else they have cooking. But the big news of the day, I think yesterday, was Keenan Bailey getting carjacked at the Ginn Academy in East Cleveland.
Yeah, what the hell, man? Like what? One of like 2 or 3 people in a string by the same group of kids, right? Like 4 juveniles or something like that.
They had the combo breaker cooking, man. They were like trying to see how many they can get in a row, I guess. And safe, thankfully Keenan Bailey's safe and everyone's fine from that. But a little bit of a scary moment for sure. And glad to hear he is safe. Just wild, man. Last thing you expect, right?
Yeah, definitely not worth joking about. It was like in the school parking lot for him, right? Like again, I saw it was like 4 other kids. All I could think about was like the Bone Thugs and Harmony East 99 St. Clair, because they pulled him over, somewhere down in there after they had chased him for a little while. But yeah, crazy stuff. Definitely glad that Keenan is okay, obviously. And I think they had some, he was tweeting from Canada not too long, after, right? Like I think he's already back on the trail.
Yeah, was able to resume recruiting. Quite the trooper, man. I'd probably be rattled for a little bit if I got carjacked.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be honest, man.
I'm still be changing my diaper if that happened. I don't think I'd be back on the road quite yet.
100%. Some other news to catch up on over the weekend. Marv Harrison Jr. won the Bolitnikoff, 67 receptions, 1,200 or so yards, 14 touchdowns. Became just the second Buckeye to ever win that award, which is kind of wild, man. There's been some really good wide receivers at this school, especially the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about only been 2, but they've had a lot of guys in the running, like you say, and I think while that individual award is great, I think what you're seeing these guys do at the next level probably helps recruiting more than saying, oh, here's a couple Bolitnikoffs, but props to Marv, because I mean he obviously had a really strong case last year, and there was a deep field this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think you could have argued if some other guys might have won it as well, depending on how people evaluate the award. No different than the Heisman. People kind of have their own criteria when it's kind of general, right? Some guys, hey, who really is the best receiver? Some say who had the best numbers kind of thing, who had the best numbers on a really good team. A lot of different factors that go in there, but obviously with Marvin not winning it last year, he felt like he had to be one of those all-time Buckeyes that had at least one under his belt. So yeah, cheers to Marv on racking up a Bolitnikoff. Not an easy thing to do.
No. And the other Marv news of the week was evidently some NIL money's floating around, like $20-25 million to keep him from going.
Come on. If you had $20 million to give Marv, I would hope you didn't give it to Marv based on just the other pieces you have and go get like all these other pieces, right? No offense to Marv, but come on.
Get 10 to 20 players for that. Really good players.
Yeah, that's absurd.
And it's always funny. I just want to put it out there on the record right now. There's a 0.0% chance that Marvin Harrison comes back to Ohio State next year. Like, just
I heard he was weighing his options.
Don't even tease yourself with that, man. He's definitely not coming back next year, and he'd be dumb to come back. I mean, the money's one thing. First of all, there's no NIL structure or program on earth that's gonna be able to give a guy $20 million. It's just too much money. It's not how the space works. It's way too much money. Georgia doesn't have it. Name it. No one has that kind of money for one player.
Right.
And then it comes down to, do you want to go get that money? I mean, you can get some money. I mean, there's some teams that can get a couple mil together for a guy like that. But do you want that money, or do you want to go make a guaranteed 20 right off the bat? Do you want to get a year under your rookie contract out of the way? Because, the big money deals, that second contract when you're not capped, man. So go to class, make a couple mil, or go to the NFL and make 20. Is that, seems like an easy decision.
Yeah, I think it is an easy decision, and you're certainly you go to college to prepare for your career. Mm-hmm. Depending on your profession, that can look a little bit different, right? Mm-hmm. Like for him, it is absolutely time to go. Said it last week. If he wanted to play in this game, Day should just flat out forbid it, right? Like that's just not that's not the move for him right now. So again, good on him. And at the end of the day, also like we said last week, knowing that this has an exhibition game flavor to it, I think High State wants to win this game. We'll talk about that. So I don't mean exhibition as in it doesn't matter, but as far as doesn't matter to the team, but as far as the outcome of the season overall, it's not drastically going to change anything.
Sure.
More the merrier on seeing some younger guys and that kind of thing from my perspective. Want to win, but I want to balance it against. There's no reason for Marv to play in this game.
No. Absolutely not. And so tell your friends. I'm sure everyone's got the one buddy that's like, I don't know, man, maybe he really likes the Oval, or he likes Tommy's Pizza or something.
Yeah.
And no, he's not coming back. There's zero chance he's coming back. We thank him for the years we had with him here. It was amazing, and all the best in the NFL.
He's got a legit Louis Vuitton habit too, so I think even whatever NIL you get here, he might need that NFL contract.
Maybe they could keep him on kind of a sweetheart deal where it's like half credit, half money. I mean, maybe something there, but who knows? Media got to meet with a whole bunch of Buckeyes yesterday at the Woody. A lot on that at 11warriors.com, so head over there to check it out. But, some good news came out of it, right? I mean, a bunch of players kind of lining up and saying, there's 6 juniors that, I'll be honest, I thought a lot of them weren't going to play in the Cotton Bowl. And they show up yesterday and they're like, hey, I'm going to play in the Cotton, man. And it's cornerback Denzel Burke, Emeka Ibuka, Dyke Williams, Donovan Jackson, Jack Sawyer, and Jordan Hancock, and there's 3, 4, 5 maybe of those guys that are like, yeah, I personally didn't think they were going to play. I'm so jaded by what it's become, with the portal. I'm not with the portal, but just, if games aren't CFP games, guys are bailing. And why would you want to get hurt in a Cotton Bowl like this? But, man, to their credit, man, they're playing. And the 6 said they don't know what they're going to do in the NFL, but they're definitely playing the Cotton. So that's a big, big bolt of good news for Buckeye fans.
Yeah, and if any of these guys do actually turn pro after playing in this game, that much more props to them. And I think that much more, like I know everybody's like panicked about the culture and whatever else right now because of the number of guys in the portal and it just whatever, right? Just the fact that the regular season did not end on a positive note. Right. I would hope you could take some positives. I feel like I do take some positive away from the fact that those guys are playing. And I think even more so if some of those guys even go pro afterward, because that tells you a little bit more about, hey, and I think some of them talk today, right? Like a lot of them came in together. These juniors are in the same class. I feel like they're pretty tight knit, and they want to go. They want to win a football game, and if that's how some of them go out and go to the pros, they're like, hey, I want to win one more with my guys. I don't want to end on a loss, and I think it's pretty cool to see, especially in this day and age. To your point, because I could understand if a lot of them didn't. Quite honestly, I would not begrudge them.
Right. Yeah, they're going to line up, play a decent SEC team, and give us as fans something to watch, something a little bit more than maybe we thought we had. So hats off to them. All the respect to them for this. You mentioned some of the things they said.
I am playing in the bowl game. That's one thing that's for sure. I think it's important to end off the season on the right note with a win against a really good team. And I'm excited to have another chance to be on the field with my brothers. As of my future, I'm totally undecided. So. And
said it well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's what we were touching on, and that's what you want. That's what you want to hear in a situation where, again, a lot of folks are, kind of thinking that the sky's falling a little bit.
Right.
Those guys kind of being galvanized and wanting to play this game for the long term of the program, I think is a great thing, but also just watchability too for this game. Certainly doesn't hurt either to watch some of these guys, whether it's the last time we get to see them and that's kind of cool, or it's it's that springboard into next season for some guys that if they do come back out of that list of names you just rattled off are going to be super key contributors, right? Like any of those guys that come back, they're going to be crucial to Ohio State's success next year.
Absolutely, guys that will be on maybe cover of magazine type guys coming back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jack Sawyer, defensive end Jack Sawyer, with maybe the quote of the day yesterday about the perception among fans and maybe the media that the Cotton Bowl was meaningless.
Pardon my French, but I think that's kind of bullshit. This game means a lot to us and to the fans. It's an opportunity to go out there and play and put our best foot forward and show the world who we really are, after a tough loss to a good team. And so, all of us who are playing are super excited to be playing. We've got a great opportunity to play in the Cowboy Stadium. It's going to be a fun trip. It's going to be a lot of excitement to get to play a good SEC team in Missouri. They're a great team. And, it's a big game, and it matters.
And, easy way to win fans by dropping a line like that, and it was fun to hear.
Yeah, it was. And it's a guy, too, that I think, up to maybe the midpoint of the year, you're kind of thinking, all right, 5-star, when's he going to kind of explode? He's been a serviceable player for sure. Right. And, while the numbers still haven't exploded, I feel like there's a lot of positive momentum from Jack Sawyer over the last handful of games in the second half of the season. And, yeah, really excited to see, hey, if he's feeling, dialed in, what can he do? Because assuming he does come back and maybe a JT Tuimoloau doesn't kind of thing, imagine the role Sawyer's going to have to play next year, right? So definitely like hearing him in a, kind of a hair on fire mentality. Yeah,
it's weird. It's almost like, is there a curse for 5-star defensive ends from Central Ohio? Because Jack's been great, and to his credit, he came on later this year, and he has a chance to keep building on that. But, I think a lot of Ohio State fans would admit that probably wanted or thought we'd get a little bit more out of him. I mean, I'm trying not to pile on
based
the guy.
on the rankings,
he's a great dude, right? But a 5-star, and then you go back to like Zach Harrison. It was a very, very similar thing.
Even later for him, right? Like it literally was like a senior year kind of thing. So, but yeah, definitely same vibe of elite prospect. That
in the backyard
took a minute to to get onto the scene kind of thing, and then what is the ceiling kind of deal. So yeah, hopefully with Jack we got another year to figure out what that ceiling could be.
Yeah, really cool, and I would love to have him back, man. I mean, selfishly as an Ohio State fan, because I think he could really wreck some stuff next season.
He seems like the type too that really, not just being a fan, like really could improve his stock more, right? It does feel like there's more football to play, to polish his skills and that kind of thing. Would he get drafted this year? Absolutely. But is he a guy that could come back and potentially improve his stock? I feel like that answer is yes. Versus some other guys, maybe they can't. It's just different in some cases, and you might as well go while you can kind of deal. Like if an Eichenberg had another year kind of thing. Hey, you've got so much on tape. You've played so many games. Could you really make that much more of a leap next year versus the mileage that you're putting on the odometer? Feels like no. Sawyer feels like a different vibe to me.
Yeah, great point. And it's selfish for us and maybe something for them as well. Devin Brown, man, had some things to say yesterday. He, of course, will be the starting quarterback in the Cotton Bowl with Kyle McCord, out in the portal and seeing what's out there. And said, first off, he's healthy, fully healthy, and recovered from the ankle injury suffered at Penn State. Or against Penn State. I guess that game was in the shoe. And then something interesting he said, because, Ohio State is looking for someone right now in the portal at quarterback, and Kyle's gone, and got Aaron Noland and some other people. But like Brown basically said he wanted to be the guy. He didn't even for 1 minute consider transferring, regardless of what Ohio State's going to do here with the portal and the position of quarterback. Said, quote, "My focus is on being the starting quarterback at Ohio State. I've never cared about who was in the room or anybody that was coming." And I mean, that's what you want to hear, right?
Yeah, I mean, he basically said that coming out of spring last year with the injury. He said that, in fall camp when he had opportunity. I felt like when he did come in, he was ready. I mean, performance, outcome, whatever, but I don't think he was, overmatched by a moment, that kind of thing. And basically had worked himself into a red zone role a little later to your point before he got hurt. Some of that I feel like was out of necessity of Ohio State just kind of stinking it up in the red zone, and McCord really couldn't move. So Brown gave you a different kind of dimension. So I'm sure that was part of it. But at the same token, Day's not going to put somebody out there that he feels like he can't trust, especially at the quarterback position. So I think that was good. But yeah, what struck me in the interviews yesterday is just the confidence that he's portraying, right? Like, and he's always been a confident dude. I mean, that's never been a issue. I mean, you wear a bolo, you're a confident dude, just right off the rip, right? But the way he's always talked, and you want that. Like he's got some, he's definitely got some swag to him. He's talked about, hey, now that I'm in this position, I feel like it's a little bit more easier for me to lead the team, kind of thing, beyond just physical tools and that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of bullish on that. I feel like when we were talking last week, it was, hey, I want to see both of those guys, and I do. I want to see Brown, and I want to see, Keen Holes as well, kind of thing. But gosh, I feel like, Brown is like, hey, do whatever you're going to do. I'm going to see if I can put this thing in a chokehold and, approach it as if I'm the guy. So we'll see, put it out on the field. Let's see it. Right. But as far as the mentality going in, I was impressed with what I heard from him. Not stunned, but definitely impressed.
Great point about bolo ties and confidence going hand in hand. And he's got it. But, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, what do you expect, I guess? What would be a good outcome for him in this bowl for you to say, you know what, maybe he's got a chance to be the guy next year. Maybe he could be a good guy that could be a really good quarterback here. What's that look like? Yeah,
I think number one thing is you want to see him limit turnovers, right? Meaning 0 turnovers, because I think at times this year definitely a little loose with the ball, whether it was running or pass. Like, the number of interceptions doesn't always tell the story. Same thing with McCord, right? Sometimes they're just bad balls, terrible decisions. A Notre Dame game, they go down and drive, and you give McCord a ton of credit. If Notre Dame's linebacker could catch, it never even gets to that point, right? So I think that, that's what I want to see is a decision-making, not turning the ball over. And if he can throw it, for over a couple hundred yards, knowing he's probably going to run the ball, run it a little bit too, either on purpose or by design or scramble. I mostly want to see get a win and control the ball. And I don't want to see an offense where it looks like, oh gosh, we're just guarding against not letting Devin Brown lose this game for us kind of thing. Because if that's what it looks like, hey, let me see more Keen Holes or figure out something in the portal, because, the whole game manager thing, yeah, okay, if you've got an elite defense, bring it. But if you don't, as we saw, that can get you, can still burn you.
Yeah. I think I'd be pretty frustrated too if they put the handcuffs on. Let's go out and have fun is kind of my mantra. Missouri's probably looking at this game as a great opportunity to make a name for what the program they're building there right now. And Ohio State should go out there and let it rip and not give them that opportunity. Cody Simon, some other news from yesterday. Cody Simon announced he will return for 2024. I didn't know if he was a threat, I guess, in my head, but it was to leave. But it was, it's still nice to hear he's ready to come back and play.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think it was a threat of going to the NFL, but just because so many people popping in the portal, I'm like, is that a threat? But I'm sitting there thinking everybody else that transferred, with the exception of Fleming and McCord potentially, weren't going to be starters next year, right? Like Simon, I feel like, just based off of last year, especially in a team where, most of the time Knowles is only running 2 linebackers. Simon was the backup to both of the linebackers, right? I mean, he came in when Steele was out and he came in when Tommy was out, kind of thing. So, definitely not overly surprised by that move, but also really happy that he's coming back, because I honestly, by the end of the season, now I know in pass coverage, that's still be maybe an issue. That's not his main thing, but by the end of the year, if everybody was healthy, I would have been fine to just say, okay, let's roll with Cody and Tommy, because I feel like Steele over time, I just didn't feel like it was almost like he regressed. So more Cody is fine with me right now, hoping that, hey, I mean, it's put up or shut up time for CJ Hicks. And, I think we all think it's there, right? But hasn't been able to carve out much of a role to this point, whether it's 2 linebacker system or not. So you're going to need a veteran like Simon next year, because whoever's running alongside of him, most likely, I mean, Steele, I think, could come back again, but he'd be, about 40 years old by then. You have to imagine he's probably going to move on, one way or the other.
Yep. Fun to see. Touched on McCord not too long ago. He and Fleming visited Nebraska this week, out checking out the Cornhuskers. That's really interesting, because Nebraska is at Ohio State on October 26th, so 2024. So, what's that, about, I guess, 11 months away, 10 months away. You got a chance to see Kyle McCord and Julian Fleming back in the horseshoe. So that's really interesting, but hold that thought, because the Huskers might flip Dylan Raiola, the number 2 prospect in the entire class, the number 1 quarterback in the class. If he flips, he's got quite the little run here already, man. Because he was committed to OSU first, right? He was committed to
December
Ryan
13th.
Day. Yeah, he was committed to Ohio State and Ryan Day first. And then he flipped that to Georgia. He's been with Georgia for a good bit here, but some news in the last few days that he may actually flip to Nebraska, where his uncle is a staff member on the football
and just
team.
got a 53% raise, I think I read. So
you wonder how
feels like maybe it's getting pretty close to finalize that. Yeah, Nebraska will be the stop.
Yeah, pretty.
And then he may transfer in a year or two.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Well, my guys played for three high schools already.
Yeah,
and I mean, to me, I don't know. I mean, I hate to say this, but like, that's a red flag to me. I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
And I guess if the dude's really, really good, you overlook those red flags, like the 3 high schools or whatever else is going on. But I think character still matters. But he go prove me wrong and say 3 high schools had no effect on my ability to play ball, and just gets it done out there. And we'll see, man. Like, it's funny. Nebraska was floating around, the going price of a quarterback not too long ago, about $2 million or so, and all of a sudden, going to give this guy a raise. And if he can kind of, I'm not saying they are, but like, if you were going to set something up like this, give a guy on your staff a raise that's related. He gives a big gift to his brother, like a family gift, and all of a sudden you've kind of sidetracked NIL. I mean, coaches can't contribute to NIL, but is there anything barring a guy from giving his brother a massive Christmas present? Is there?
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, there's not, right?
These days, I don't even know if I care. It's just, it's Wild West, and it seems like that's where Raiola will go. And even if he does, right? I don't know if that would change what McCord would do. I guess we'll see. I think there's some jokes around. Oh, McCord doesn't want to compete. They wouldn't promise him the job. Who knows, right? I have no idea. But I don't. It's still pretty rare that a freshman, 5-star or not, comes in and immediately plays. So we'll see if that ends up being a potential landing spot for McCord or not. But honestly, at this point, I don't know how much I care. I don't care which one of those guys starts. I'm not really all that paranoid about Nebraska as a threat to the Big Ten, particularly next year with everyone else that's coming.
One guy makes it I guess they both make it really interesting. I'm going to be honest, because there's like a history with both guys, no matter who it is, right? I mean, Raiola was the committed to Ohio State at first, and then of course Kyle spent the few years here and started this season. So
yeah.
I was going to say Kyle makes it more interesting, but heck, I don't even know if that's true. They both make it interesting. Whoever they trot out, it's going to be a fun game. And,
totally agree.
If Fleming's there, watch out, man. I mean, that's neat, man. I mean, something you didn't see in college football until the portal became a thing. And guys,
it's an interesting story. No doubt to your point. I just more of like, I don't care which one of those guys it is. I don't care if Fleming's a wideout. Ohio State loses in Nebraska. They got issues that I don't foresee.
Julian goes off to has a 400-yard game in the shoe, and we're all angry at the world. Not going to happen though. Other transfer news: Chip Trainum, a little bit of a old bit of news, but he's to Kentucky. He announced, I think yesterday, that he was going to Kentucky. Was in the portal for a while, for about 10 days, or I guess 7 days. And what's interesting to that one is the minute he said he was going into the transfer portal, Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio was like, "Oh, he's coming to Kentucky." And that was days ago, days before he officially announced he was going to Kentucky. And Dabo was complaining about this recently down in Clemson about the tampering going on with the portal. Oh, yeah. And it's real. And to me, man, that's the one thing. Tampering is going to drive some reform. That alone. It's not going to be, I lost a guy, or I don't like this, or it's not fair, I have to work more. It's tampering. That's the one thing the coaches can pull up and say, this is a major agreement. Because you can't do it in pros. You can't do it anywhere else.
Right. Yeah. And it just starts a bidding war that may otherwise not exist also, potentially.
That's true.
That's true. Not even the Ohio States of the world are looking for more money in the coffers. So
absolutely.
That alone. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a good fit for Trainum. I know he's a grown Groan man, which I know they like down there. So
man, Vince.
Yeah, and I get it for Chip. I mean, I like Chip. I wish Chip would have stayed. I think as a reserve running back, he gives you something, right? Especially in the Big Ten, can run between the tackles, that kind of thing. But I think if he's your starter, you probably don't have a good enough running back room. No disrespect, but I'd rather see Dallin Hayden get a ton of carries than train him. I feel like we've seen his ceiling. I don't know the ceiling of some of the other guys that may be here, right. Including Travion, right? So, yeah, be interesting to see how that pans out for Trainum, but I would imagine he'll get more carries in Kentucky than he would have gotten at Ohio State next year.
Absolutely. Other transfer news: Riley Leonard, Duke's quarterback, is heading to Notre Dame. Can't beat him, join him type of thing going on there. And Dylan Gabriel left Oklahoma, is going to Oregon, man, and that's a third team he's been on. UCF is where he started his career, then to Oklahoma, spent 2 years there, and then now he's heading to Oregon. Oregon, of course, will welcome Ohio State this season in 2024 in the regular season. So, guy completed 69% of his passes, about 3,700 yards, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in Oklahoma. Great numbers. And what kills me, what jumps out to me is he already has 49 starts under his belt.
Yeah.
That's nuts. That used to be like this back in the old days before the COVID super year. That was the guy leaving school. They were like, "Oh, that guy's got the all-time starts record. No one will ever touch that." This guy's got 49, and he's going to go start 13 more. So,
Sam Hartman vibes.
Congrats, Dylan Gabriel, on your future 62, 63 starts at the college football. I mean, some records being set because of COVID that will never be broken. I mean, you'll never down the road have a guy get 60-some starts in again. It's just kind of nutty, but worth keeping an eye on Gabriel. Again, Buckeyes will travel to Eugene later in 2024. So. He's a good quarterback, and that'll be a tough to. I hate that game. I hate it, man. I hate it. I'm like, that game sucks. Lanning's a good coach. You're gonna have a good defense. Now you get a quarterback. Oh man, that's a tough game.
Indeed.
So, yep. Last thing for us today, we've got to talk about OSU hoops, and we're gonna get close to boycotting the basketball team. Depends on how they do for us. I mean, you got to see something because they just won 7 straight, right? They head to Penn State, lose an 18-point second half lead. 18 points in the second half. It's not even NBA. It's college ball. That's even harder to make that up.
Yeah.
To a team in Penn State that had lost 5 straight coming in. And last week we're on here. We're like, hey, is this team maybe a little underrated? Are they finally good? Is the few years of heartbreak and mediocre teams over? And we were trending that way. And you're like, I want to see what happens when the calendar switches from December to January. But we didn't even have to wait that long. We just Ohio State blew an 18-point lead at Penn State Saturday, and I'm pretty salty about it.
Yeah, it wasn't what you want to see. I mean, I saw it on Twitter, the Holtman special. It's not the first time Ohio State's blown a big lead in games before. Minnesota game is one of the more painful ones that comes to the mind from last year. But yeah, I look at it a couple different ways. I mean, I'm typically not the glass half full guy in full transparency, but they dominated the first half. They were killing them on the glass. Going on the road really for the first time all year. I mean, I know Penn State's not a good team, but still a Big Ten road game is a Big Ten road game, and it was their first real road game of the year. But yeah, it was just so weird how the second half evolved. I mean, Penn State shot 61% from the floor overall, 8 of 15 from three. They won the glass by a couple after I think Ohio State won the backboards in the first half, like 26-12 or something like that. If you remember, I mean, I said on last week's show, Ohio State's been shooting the lights out, and the defense wasn't really that great, but because they were shooting so well, it was masking. I said, shooting comes and goes. You got to make sure you're bringing defense. And lo and behold, they did not do that in the second half of that game. I think 14 of Penn State's 16 second chance points were in the second half. So just, not what you wanted to see from these guys. Even attacking the zone, didn't look comfortable against the zone. I'm not sure why, they did a great job of getting the ball to the free throw line. That's what you want to do against the zone. You get the ball in the middle of the zone right there, turn around, face up, and then you got some options. But I think Evan Mahavy gives this team a lot of things, but that's in the zone. That's where you're trying to do some damage. And he was the one in the high post there. And I didn't really understand that at all. I like the play at the end of the game. I mean, maybe you want Gale or Thornton taking that shot. They got a really good look from three in the corner. I like going for 3 down 2 at the end there. You don't want to go overtime in a game like that on the road. Like, hey, you try to win it, and got a good look and just missed the shot. But I think to me, maybe what's a little bit more concerning we have to keep an eye on is that we've seen this story before, right? Even with that loss, Ohio State went 8-2 in their first 10 games, which they have gone 7-3 or better every year of the Holtman era so far. The problem is then when you start getting into Big Ten play or some tougher games, after those first 10 games, he only has a winning record the rest of the season 4 of 6 times, and he's only 3 over 500 the rest of the season 2 of 6 seasons. So there's just a lot there to say, okay, is this the year? Because really, they've not bad. I think they went 13-8 the rest of the way in the 2020-2021 season, so 5 games over 500. But except for his first year, they've not come close to that. Last year they were 9-16 the rest of the way after starting 7-3. So I don't want to freak out yet, but this is the typical Holtman blueprint so far, right? Of start pretty hot and then start playing some better teams, and oh gosh, hang on to your butts. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But UCLA Saturday. See what happens with that one, test, right? I think UCLA is probably a little better in their record. What are they 5-3 or something like that? But they've had some close losses against some good teams.
Marquette, Gonzaga, and Villanova are the 3 losses.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are 3 pretty darn good losses, right?
Yeah, and they're replacing some guys. I mean, they lost Jaime Jaquez to the NBA. Tyga Campbell's gone, the dreadlock point guard. So they're replacing some guys for sure. But neutral court battle against a coach that I love to beat. So yeah, hopefully Ohio State will bring it in that one. I think UCLA is like 44 in Ken Palm. Ohio State's 27. So I'll give you a little bit of flavor. Ohio State's, I haven't seen the line, but I'm sure they're favored to win. But gosh, you got to bounce back after a week off. You want to get that Penn State league loss. So that's tough, but you got to get that behind you and win on Saturday.
Absolutely. Let's hope for that. UCLA, again, you do touch on big test Saturday. Beyond that, I mean, talk me off the ledge. Are you probably more bullish this year than last year?
I'm more bullish this year than last year because I still like just, some of the pieces that they've got offensively. I think that, with Thornton and Gale for sure, you've got a really good backcourt, and everybody says what you need to win in March and that kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But just Thornton is that floor general that's got this year of seasoning under his belt, gives me some confidence. Right. Battles, the volume shooter he was at Minnesota gives you some things for sure. Defensively, gosh, he was killing me in the Penn State game, but I'm not really sure what Holtman was doing. Maybe Penn State was doing it, creating switches, but Kanye Clary, I think he had 19, and I felt like a lot of those were Battles trying to guard him, and that's just not the right matchup. Right. So yeah, trying to figure out how they can get a little bit better on the defensive end is going to be crucial, because I think they got some guys that can score, but they got to figure out how to keep the other team from scoring again, because shooting will come and go. You can bring defensive effort every night, and that's what they're going to have to do to win in what is always a rugged Big Ten. But yeah, until they experience that 5-game slide or like the stuff we've normally seen, I'm trying to be upbeat here, because I still feel like the top 8 kind of complement each other pretty well. We'll see how that goes against other teams, but I don't feel like they've got 4-point guards or, like I feel like there's balance in the roster. Hoping that Middleton can continue to improve and grow though, because I think, trying to get more minutes for him is something I would like to see. For sure.
Well, let's hope for that. And we'll be following them. What else do we have to do? Weigh in once a week on what the basketball team's doing. If it turns dark, then we'll roast some folks. But yeah, thanks so much for starting your day with us. We're having some fun with this, and we got some big things in store. So stick with us and have a good one.